During my career in the Marine Corps while I was in Okinawa, I started my martial arts training there and pretty much been with it since then. Took a little bit of a break from karate for a while after I had retired, picked it back up probably in early 2000s. So I've been in this system here now for about 21 years. We did a lot of fighting, took a lot of shots to the head. Over the years, that starts adding up. It starts taking its toll on the brain. And I started noticing it probably about 6 or 7 years into my time as the VSO. Before I got into what I'm doing now, I was the veteran service officer in Cherokee County for 9.5 years. And learning what I did in the Marine Corps about not quitting and like I would explain to people, I am not a gracious loser. So I just choose not to. And so I would tell all my vets that and what I did in the Marine Corps as an analyst helped me do a better job as a veteran service officer, because I could take and look at what we've got and where we want to be and draw that line to how to get there. I enjoyed what I did. I hated when I had to leave that job. But it kind of got me to where I am, today. I had to leave as the veteran service officer because of all the concussions I'd had. At least 6 or 8 as a kid growing up. I know 3 of them I lost consciousness over. And then in 20 years of fighting in martial arts, I've obviously had more concussions. I had reached a point to where I could no longer remember how to do my job. I kept having to ask my assistant how to do things that I learned in my first year as a veteran service officer. I couldn't remember people's names. I'd have to go back and look at all their stuff to see what we had done. My memory was just gone. I would be trying to hold a conversation with someone and I would stop in mid-sentence and be done with the conversation because I didn't know anymore where I was going with it. When you realize you're losing your mind and there's nothing you can do about it, you kind of wonder what your future is going to be like. And I didn't see a very bright future for me at that point. So I retired in December of 17. In January of 2018, I got a text from a friend of mine, told me about a seminar. So I went to this seminar and kind of sat there and listened to it. And most of it was just meaningless to me. It was boring. It didn't fit me in any way, shape, or form. And then they talked about at the last little bit of it, a study that they did with a group of Marines in the VA Medical Center in San Diego. And they had a Marine Master Gunny there talk about how he had dealt with PTSD and TBI for 5.5 years. He was telling his story, and he had been blown up twice. He had PTSD and 2 TBIs, and he'd been dealing with them for about 5.5 years. Migraines because of the TBI, he'd get up at 2 o'clock in the morning, take his sumatriptan, try and go back to bed and get some rest. And most of the guys that have PTSD realize, you get maybe 2 or 3 hours of sleep a night, and that's about it. The rest of it's just trying to go to sleep. And he got to be one of the guys that got selected to be in this study that the VA was testing this equipment out. And after his first treatment, he got up at 2 o'clock in the morning, like he always did, and he went in to take his sumatriptan. And as he reaches up to get his sumatriptan, he stopped and kind of thought. He says, "Wait a minute, I don't have a headache." So he put it back and he went back and went to bed, and he actually slept. So the next morning he gets up and he calls these guys up that did the treatments on him and says, "What did you guys do to me last night?" And they go, but are you okay? Are you all right? Is anything wrong? He said, no. He says, for the first time in 5.5 years, I slept. For the first time in 5.5 years, I didn't wake up with a migraine. And so I'm listening to this guy going, I wonder if this will help. And then after it was all over with, I went up and asked him, I said, hey, look, here's my deal. Laid it out for him. Boatloads of concussions, don't sleep, no memory. Is it going to help me? He said, yeah, it will. I said, okay, I'm in. I went through a series of the sessions, and it helped me out a lot. I mean, it brought me my life back. It gave me back my ability to process, to think, to speak. My memory's still not so great, but it probably never was really all that great anyway, but that's okay. But it brought a purpose back to my life. It gave me something to start looking into, to be able to start going back to helping vets, because my heart is being able to help people out. When people get PTSD, one of the things that's going on, and it's like so many of the combat vets, they're always operating at that fight or flight mode. And the hypothalamus in the brain is just spinning, dumping all these hormones into the body. For most of us, when something jumps out at us, we get that rush of adrenaline. We're ready to fight or run or whatever. And then after a couple of minutes, everything calms down. We're back to normal. These guys with PTSD, all these hormones are being dumped into their body all day, every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The body wasn't meant to handle all these hormones all the time. And so what those hormones do is they cause a lot of problems with the rest of the body. It can cause heart problems, cause liver, kidney, the insomnia, causes a lot of the same types of issues, problems with the heart, problems with the brain, problems with cognition. There's just so many areas of everyday life that gets adversely affected. When you stop the hypothalamus from spinning and dumping all those hormones into the body, and these people start calming down and settling down, they just take a breath and they're like, wow, there is peace in the world, so to speak, or at least in between their ears, in their mind, they're finally able to relax. They're finally able to go through their daily life without worrying about everything that's going on around them. When's the next guy going to jump out from around the corner and try to shoot me? Or, when am I going to get abused again? Or, whatever their issue or their problem was, they don't have to worry about that anymore. It's called Microcurrent Neurofeedback Therapy. What we do is we clean places on the scalp, and then we'll hook the leads up to them, and then we'll move them around in different places. The power level that we're using to get to the brain is so low, it's not enough to penetrate the skull. So we have to use neural pathways in the scalp to get to the brain. What we're doing is we're retraining the brain on how to fire correctly. Because anytime the brain goes through some kind of a trauma, and it doesn't matter if it's a trauma that's from wartime, from abuse, somebody, in a serious automobile accident, doesn't matter where that trauma comes from, it all affects the brain similarly. So Lisa and I met at an IASIS presentation in December of 2018. She had a reboot program and I had the IASIS equipment. And so we got to talking and decided that we could form our own company called Car Wellness. So we're part of the Camp V network of partners working together to help vets.
So I'm Travis Gladhill, a retired Air Force veteran of 22 years. Did multiple deployments to both Iraq and Afghanistan. 2005, if I remember correctly. It was in Iraq. An IED went off in close proximity to a Humvee that I was in. Basically got knocked around a little bit. Fortunately enough, it was in close proximity, but not close enough to, kill anyone. They call it concussive blast. It rocked the vehicles. It rocked, everyone in the vehicle. Smacked the head around. Did notice, after the deployment, I was having a lot of headaches, lots of ringing in the ears, and, got checked out. Sure enough, doc said that I probably had a concussion, from the blast, or possibly smacking my head against the inside of the Humvee. Didn't really start getting treatment for it until I met Dave, and then he offered this service. It definitely helped, especially with some of the ringing in the ears, with concentration. Still get the headaches, but it's a lot more manageable now.
Once we bring the brain back into alignment and get it to where it's firing correctly, people can keep their anxiety and their depression. We can bring those levels down to a point where they can keep them under control and they can function in life. They don't have to worry about, what am I going to do when I go, to Walmart and go shopping, and something happens. Am I going to blow up? Am I going to punch somebody out? Am I even going to be able to stand being around that many people? But it's amazing how the body and the brain were designed. Everything was designed to heal. And when we are given what we need to heal, the brain can heal. Even guys that have dealt with PTSD for 30, 40 plus years, we can help them to heal. My biggest and best accomplishment for me is being able to put a family back together. When you can take a veteran that can't be with his family, can't be with his wife, can't be with his kids, they're all afraid of him. They're all scared of him. And when you can turn that around and you can change his life, you can reduce his stress, you can reduce his anxiety, you can reduce his depression, you can get him away from suicidal ideations, and you can put that family unit back together, what more could you ask for than helping to repair a family? So I got this car about 8 months ago, and in that 8 months, I put about 50,000 miles on it. Going to see vets in different places and helping take care of them, guys that can't get out. Doing a lot of driving, going to see guys up in Winsboro and Quitman, Lindale. It's a pretty amazing feeling to know that I have been blessed enough to be able to help somebody regain their life. Because that's what happened with me. Somebody was able to bless me enough that I was able to regain my life. And now I get to do that with other people. When you can take people out of that kind of a situation and you can bring them back to life, basically. To me, that's what I'm here for.